Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Andy and I am the Painting Fireman. Thank you for joining me today. Today I think we're going to do a nice winter scene. A friend of mine asked, how do I know which colors to pick when I'm doing a painting? Well, in the summer you want your bright colors, obviously lots of sunshine, lots of greens, lots of bright yellows. Autumn time you're going to tone it down with your browns and your reds and your oranges. And winter we're going to do a lot of blue colors. So today I have a very limited palette. All I have is alizarin crimson, I have some phthalo blue, or Prussian blue, black, phthalo blue, and white. That's it, only a couple colors. Sometimes determining which color to use depends on how much paint you have on stock. I live in a small town and I don't have regular access to a paint store or Michaels or anything like that, so sometimes I gotta paint with whatever I have. So today we just got a limited palette and we'll go up on the canvas right here. Before we start, I'll just show you what I've done. I just put some liquid white on the canvas and it's a 16 by 20 canvas. You can buy canvases anywhere. A lot of places have good deals for canvases. So if you go to Michael's, or I sometimes get canvases at Delta Art. I get my paint at Delta Art for the most part. I use mostly Bob Ross paints, but sometimes I use Winton oil. All right, let's go up on the canvas. We're just going to touch that phthalo blue. We're just going to get a little bit on our brush. We're just tapping it in. The reason why we tap it in is we get an even coat of paint throughout the whole brush, right on the top. And you want to start with a little bit of paint. It's really hard to get rid of paint once you've put it on, so this isn't necessarily the more the better. So a little bit of paint and we'll go right up in the corner using our X strokes. Like I said, I got my liquid white on the canvas already. And the purpose of that liquid white is to blend your colors nice and easy. I'm going to purposely leave a few spaces white. I want some big old clouds in there. And as you go closer towards the horizon, the color is less and less, just like a real sky. So the lower to the horizon, it's nice and dull, and towards the top, it's bright. We'll just add a little more paint, getting these corners a little bit. And all we're doing is our nice little X strokes and leaving a couple spots open for some clouds that we're going to put in. And then we can just go back and forth and blend it out. Just back and forth nicely. And I think we're going to have some water in our painting today. So I'm just going to load up a little more phthalo blue and just take a touch of the darker Prussian blue, not too much, just a little bit darker. Going to load up my 1-inch brush. You can do this with a 2-inch brush. It's faster with a 2-inch brush, but I had the 1-inch brush out. And when we paint still water, all we want to do is come from one direction across, and we're just going to go across. We're not going all the way across, just from one end all the way up to our skyline. I think we'll put a big mountain in there, grab some more paint, just a bit of that darker color, and same thing, but we want to leave a spot right in the middle here. So you'll see a little spot that's intentionally left open. And with still water, that'll give the indication of a little sunshine kind of glistening off the water there. So all we're doing is pulling one direction across, get that bottom. And you can blend it out as much as you want. It's, like I said, it's much easier with our big brush, obviously. Get those edges. And then you can go all the way across, and that very gently, very lightly all the way across, and that'll leave that little glimmer in the middle there. That's all we want to do. We're probably going to cover up a bunch of this, so I wouldn't worry too much about the little lines that are showing there. We'll cover it up with some snow or some land, but just so that we have a nice base coat under here. Just a little bit of color, gently across. And that's about it for our sky and land. We're going to put some clouds in there. Cleaning my brush in low order paint there. And I built myself a little box on the side here. So that'll contain all the paint thinner. And then what I do at the end, I can dump out anything that's got caught in there, and I can pour it right back into my my can I got down here full of thinner. It works really good. Works really good. And it's less of a mess, you know. If you're cleaning your brushes like I do, it gets pretty messy. So what you want something to contain that mess. All right, we're just gonna use our fan brush today. I prefer using a fan brush for clouds. I just think I got a little more control. Depends what kind of clouds you want to make. But what you really want to make sure is that you have a really good load of paint. Really good load of paint. Load it up, both sides of your brush, and then you can use the corner. Now I intentionally left some areas blank, so I think we're gonna put some nice puffy clouds, and we're just using that corner. Sometimes I'm pressing harder, sometimes I'm pressing lighter, and just moving that brush around. There's a few places that we can go in and blend it out a little bit. We're gonna have a big old mountain here, but I kind of want some clouds behind the mountain. Just that indication, just a little indication of clouds. Like I said, they're pretty random. You can put one cloud in your sky. This one I think maybe comes right off the canvas and goes over there somewhere. A little more paint, I think maybe up here, just on the corner, just to give that indication. We're gonna fluff those up and blend our sky out really nice so everything will show up. A lot of times too, what you want to do is just take a little hint of that Elysian Crimson, and it'll give you a little pink color. And you can throw just a little bit of that pink color in there. It'll show a little shadow. You might not even be able to see this on camera, but it helps in your painting, and it adds just that little bit of depth into your clouds. And I'm just going on the bottom because what we want is really clean tops to our clouds. That's where the definition is going to be, right in the top of the cloud. And we can take our 1-inch brush, 2-inch brush, whichever. You know what, I'm going to switch. I'm going to go with our big old brush. And all we're going to do is blend out the corner of my brush. We're just going to blend it out and lightly, very lightly, sweep it upwards. Same with here, little one. Just the bottom. You want to leave that top. This one kind of came off our canvas here. Nice circles. All I'm doing is pressing down. You can see I only have a little bit of paint up at the top. Fluff that one up. And just gently, gently you're fluffing it. Just barely holding on, just two little fingers, and we're just gently going upwards, just to give those clouds, that little bit of trail at the end of them. A lot of times you see the trails off the end of the clouds, and that's exactly how you do that. There we go. You can blend some of that out. And if you don't like a cloud, or you don't like where it is, by all means, you can just buff that out. And all I'm doing right now is taking out the brush strokes. I see a couple spots in here that, and super gentle. I only have one light and it kind of shines this way, so I apologize if I'm in the way, but it's really hard to see that top corner. That's all right. And I think we just built ourselves a nice little sky. Just nice, gentle, puffy clouds in the background. And it only took a few minutes. Hair there, okay. Nicely across. So for our mountain, we're gonna take just a bit of black, a bunch of that Prussian blue, maybe a little crimson in there, a little more. I want a really dark purple color, more blue than purple, but it's still gonna be a little bit purple. And we just mix it right on our palette. All right, So, decision time. Where are we gonna put our mountain? So we take off a cut of our paint. There we go. Take off a little cut of our paint. I think it might look like the mountain's kind of floating in the sky here for right now, but we'll just put them here right now. Drop them in. Maybe it goes down. Grab some more paint. Down and up here, maybe down, squeeze over here a little bit. And that's okay. If you come over top of the clouds you made, don't worry about it. We know because we put them back there. We know they're there. Clouds are kind of hovering the back side of that mountain. And I think maybe take some more paint. Bump here. That one kind of looks funny, so we'll just go over and fix it. Up here, and then off. Now, before we put our snow on, we can go back. I see a couple of spots here that I didn't quite press hard enough. Just cut those in, just with your knife. When you're doing your mountain, you want to really make sure that the tops of the mountains are the ones you see the most. They're really clear cut, because mountains have a lot of fog. You can put a couple bumps in here so it's not so straight. Another bump here, and then we don't know where it goes. Off somewhere that way. And then you can scrape off a lot of your paint. The less paint you have on here, kind of better it is for your next set of, for your snow that you're going to put on here. So we just cut off a bit of this paint, scrape it down a little bit, and then we'll blend that out. Take our 1-inch brush, take it right up here and just pull gently, and off it goes. Here too, just pull down, it goes this way a little bit. And you can see on the bottom, it's mixing with the liquid white, and it just creates that nice little fog at the bottom. Now we can put fog into just by tapping with our brush as well, and we'll do that. We'll kind of diffuse this mountain a little bit on the bottom. All we're doing is taking our 1-inch, and I find 1-inch you have a little more control over it than the big 2-inch brush. That's why I don't use it too often. Maybe in the water or something I can use the 2-inch brush. But really, you can use that 2-inch brush for anything you want. I just find that 1-inch brush is just a little more convenient. Let's go up here, and we'll make sure that's nice. I just see a little spot up in my mountain that needs a little bit of attention. So, like I said, you can fix your mountain before you put your snow on. And you can probably even do it with that snow. It really doesn't matter. But I just find it easier if you catch any of your mistakes or anything like that. Catch them right away. And then it just makes life easier at the end of the day, really. There we go. Got a nice little mountain, like I said, just fades off into nothing in the back. Now I can drag a little bit of this white on top, blend it into the bottom of the mountain. There we go. Snow time. Now this is a winter scene, so I want to put a little bit of snow on there. I keep losing my knife. There it is. I'm a bit of a messy painter. All we're going to do is take our white color, try and get rid of any kind of color that might have got mixed in there. Pull your paint out nice and flat. Clean off the old knife really good this time. Pull that paint out nice and flat. Take a cut. Just a little cut of paint. You'll have a little roll of paint at the end of your knife, and that's all you want. Just a little roll of paint. Alright, let's go up here. And you're going to take the point of the knife, very little pressure, and you're just going to go down the side of that mountain. Some more paint. I think maybe this peak here will have some. Just gently downwards. Maybe this guy. A little bit on here. And nice. Now we can change the peak. It's not going to stay that way. I want to finish these guys. These guys I think are going to be way in the background. So I don't want a ton of detail on those guys in the back. Let's take that roll of paint. Some on the tip. There. These guys are just in the back. And I'll show you how to push those back, those mountains back, in 1 minute when I get my shadow color out. And I just want to blend, just tap that in there. I don't want these to be super visible in the back. I just want a little bit of them showing. And we're going to take this mountain here, right there, and we're going to move them right in the front, and I'll show you how to do that. All right, time to put some shadows on. I just mixed up some phthalo blue and some white, just to make a nice light, kind of almost like a baby blue color. And it's the same process. We just take our little roll of paint, and wherever we have snow, we have to have a shadow. And this guy here, he goes down, across. Just a nice little shadow. And to push these guys back, I'm going to bring the shadow all the way in front. All the way in front of those two mountains. That'll push that all the way back. So we're just going to take it and look at how that just pushes those two mountains back into the background. Just like that. Just a bit of an optical illusion. Just a little bit of pressure. Bring this guy in front here. There we go. So those guys, all of a sudden, went right to the back. Now we're going to adjust our mountain a little bit. It's your mountain. You can do whatever you want with it. Now I think I'm going to put a little more white and we're just going to keep going with a little more white on our, and maybe it comes across here, down, and maybe there's a little peak here, across, just to give a little bit of depth to that mountain. Over this way. That just changes it up just a little bit. And just let that paint go and break. Just let it go. Made a little ridge here. Just nicely down. See a little spot up here that we need to fix up, and just go down. Perfect. There we go. We'll go in and put some more shadows in there. So that's probably the most important part of this whole process, is putting the shadows where they belong. As soon as you make a little ridge, you're going to need a shadow. And you can use the small end of your knife if you kind of missed the spot there. We'll bring this, connect these two. Bring this one down a little bit. There we go. All right, now, I wonder, before we do that, we're just going to go take our brush, make sure it's nice and clean. And all we're going to do is tap. Just tap the bottom We're just trying to diffuse it a little bit. We're not trying to get rid of too much. Stay with your angles. Stay with those angles this way. And you can gently lift upwards. And that just creates a nice bottom to your mountain. Now all I'm doing is tapping. Nothing too special. Just nicely. And you can also go back sometimes and take your original mountain color and just add a little bit. If you think some of those rocks are poking out or you put too much white, and just make sure when you do that, tap that bottom and nicely up. Maybe just a little bit too much there. Those just are some rocks hanging out in your mountain. There we go. Take your brush and just gently lift up. Gently, gently lift up. That'll help diffuse the bottom of that mountain. All right, I think, you know what? We're gonna put another mountain in here. Today we'll have a little practice with our mountains. We're gonna use the same mountain mixture. Just add a little bit of black in there. Just a tiny bit darker. And maybe there's a brand new mountain right here. He might be a little smaller. He might be a little bit smaller, but he's still here. Just add that dark paint. You need that base color. You need that base. And maybe he goes up here a little bit. There we go. Downwards. And just push that paint in there. Push that paint into the canvas. And then scrape it away. And the same process for this bottom mountain goes for the top mountain. We are ready to put, I just finished up that mountain that we put on the front. We're going to do the same thing for this one. Take our knife, just gently pull down. Just let that knife slide ever so gently down your mountain. We might darken our blue up just a little bit. As you go forward in your painting, you want things to be just a little bit darker than they were behind it. There we go. Put some shadow on this guy. Big old shadow on this guy. And we can kind of play around with the actual snow again. Just nice, gentle. Just let that paint break on you. Go. Running out of white. We'll have to put some more on our palette here. This guy here, maybe come across. So wherever you put that snow, just make sure that you have that shadow coming up behind it. And we'll just keep putting little shadows in here, just in places where you think there's a little less light. I see a spot where I can make a little, we'll just connect these two right here. There we go. Maybe a big kind of glacier kind of thing hanging out there. Who knows what lives there? There we go. And we'll put, yes, the indication of some shadows. Boy, we're gonna really have a lesson in how to do mountains today, that's for sure. And you can step back and look at it once in a while, whatever you think you need. Alright, we put our snow in. Just gonna tap like we did that first one. Just gently tap the bottom. Make sure you go with the angles. It's most important to go with the angles. The angle goes this way. And then gently, very gently, pull upwards. Very gently pull upwards. This side, and then we could buff that out at the bottom, and we got two pretty good looking mountains in our painting today. There we go, the same mountain color, just with a little bit of phthalo blue, little more phthalo blue in it, and some white. All right, I think what we're gonna do is we'll have just some trees right in the background. All I'm doing is taking the corner of my fan brush and I'm using the tip of it and I'm just pressing downwards, just randomly up and down. Add more paint when you need it. And this will look like a million trees in the back there. And you really didn't do too much. Really didn't do too much. Just vary the size. You don't want them like toothpicks. Eventually they'll be toothpicks, but for our purpose we don't want them to look like toothpicks. There we go. Just two out there. You can take your 2-inch or your 2-inch brush, make sure it's nice and clean, and we can just lift upwards, just slightly. That'll make it look like there's a ton of trees in the back. And then we can figure out where our water line is, right there. And you're just gonna pull down, just ever so gently, pull down. My line's kind of crooked, but that's okay. Just gently, gently pulling downwards. That'll create our shadow. And then gently across. We can take our liquid white. Take our liquid white, put a little liquid white on your knife. And we can have a little indication of a water line. And that'll just help us distinguish where the edge of our water is going up to our mountains. And make sure these are straight. Most important to make sure they go straight across. If they're crooked, it'll look like your water is rolling out of your picture, and that's not what you want. You want it nice and straight. So do your best to make these straight across. Add a little more white. It is winter, so maybe this lake here, maybe it's a little frozen. Maybe there's some snow on the end. I don't know. There we go. Just go right into here. And I think we'll have some big old foothills coming down. So you can just make a decision right there. And all I'm doing is pulling downwards. Lots of paint. Lots of paint on the brush. All the way down. And I think he'll go right. He'll go right into the water. Just some foothills. Just make it look like 1,000 trees are in our water or in our picture. You can go back, make some higher, darken it up if you want. Just indication of trees. We're still a bit far away in our painting, so we're not looking for a whole ton of detail. We can still kind of tell they're trees. Nice one there. Sometimes they just pop out. Sometimes that's all it takes. And we're just going to fill this in. Still pulling straight down. It's okay if we miss a few spots. That's okay. We're going to put some big old trees in here. I'm just going to continue on. Continue on filling this space up. So we just finished up putting blocking in that area. Same color. All we're going to do is take our 2-inch brush here, and we're just going to do the same thing. Gently pull upwards, and just quite naturally it will make it look like there's a million trees in the background. And we're going to take our brush, pull down nice and gently. Maybe the water meets there. Clean off your brush a little bit. Gently across. So I had a little bit of a mishap there, no problem. You can see quite easily we can get rid of it. And we'll just connect that guy there. Just at the very end. All right. Not sure what happened there. So sometimes you work with what happened in your painting. I mean, it's no big deal. If you completely don't like something, for sure you can just take some of your paint thinner, scrub that whole canvas off, and you can have a fresh canvas, and you're not really wasting a canvas at all. I've done that several times. It's okay to make mistakes, but sometimes you just know when it's not working for you. You can just scrape it off, take some paint thinner, and you just didn't waste the canvas. All right, we're gonna go back into our liquid white, put in a nice shoreline here. Maybe it comes across. There we go. Nice little shoreline. We're gonna have some big trees up here. That's gonna block a lot of this stuff. We're going to put some big almighty trees in our painting. I like doing evergreen trees. You can put whatever kind of trees. If you don't have evergreens where you live, you can put birch or poplar trees, spruce trees, Douglas firs. You know, you can pretty much do anything, but lots of paint, lots of dark paint. Maybe throw in a little bit of crimson in there, not a ton, but load that brush up. Nice and full. All right, let's go up here. I think right there can be your big old tree. And he's going to come down. Like I said, this takes a lot of paint. And all we're doing is pressing harder. As we go down, make it a little wider. Make it a little wider as we go down to the bottom. And you could go back if you want, if you feel you need to go back a little bit. Make some small little adjustments, but you kind of want those hanging down things in those trees. And it goes wider at the bottom. One one tree, grab a bunch of paint. I think maybe, oh, how about right here? Just find a spot where you think a big old tree lives. And he's going to come right in front. Grab some more paint. And nice and big at the bottom. Maybe he needs a friend right here, right? Right there. Little friend of his. And all the way down. And it's okay to cover up that bottom part. Some of it will show through. Some of them, they might not. But we know they're there. We know that foothill's there. We put them there. We know he's there. And these guys will come back together quite nicely when we put some highlights on it. There's a smaller one in the back there. Wherever you want to put a tree, you can put 5 trees, you can put 100 trees, whichever you want to do. It is your painting. You can honestly do whatever you want. I've said it before, there's no instructions on the end of your brush or your tube of paint, right? You can do pretty much whatever you want to do. And we'll just fill some of this in. All I'm doing is filling it in with dark color. I think we'll put some bushes in the front here somewheres. Same this side. Throw some bushes in here, maybe. So for the highlights, we're going to use our Prussian blue and white. Just a nice snowy white color. A little bit of blue in there. And the least little bit of our paint thinner. Just to thin it down a little bit. It'll help your highlights stick to your trees. And just here and there. Just here and there. Doesn't have to be every branch. And darker as we go to the bottom. We're going to put some big old bushes in there, I think. Get this tree here. You can see by just putting those highlights that those trees sure come alive, right? And it's okay to go back and forth, you know. No problem. Wherever you think highlights should be. I think maybe this guy comes way in the front. So he's got a little more and darker towards the bottom. This guy here. Darker, darker, darker towards the bottom. Most important. There we go. Let's take our 1-inch brush, and we're just going to go through that kind of blue color, maybe some Prussian blue, white, whatever you got on that palette. But make sure you're pulling in one direction. Make sure you're pulling in one direction. And you can see I got a little curve on the top of my brush right at the very end there. That's exactly what you want. And when you go up to your canvas, you want that brush, that curved part of your brush, right towards the top. And all we need to do is press downwards this way. And we're just blocking in just some darks. Just blocking in some darks. And you can see, just by putting these in here, and that brush makes little, kind of little flowery things on the bottom. Just put them in wherever, we're going to highlight those guys right away. Just some happy little brushes. We'll take our liquid white. Same thing. We're just going to tap and we'll have some happy little bushes. We're just adding some highlights. Just adding some highlights. Maybe there's a few bushes here and there, kind of hanging out in the front. We're going to put some snow in the front there too, I think. And we can come back and even put some white if we need to. But all I'm doing is pushing up with, you can use a round brush. But all I'm doing is pushing up with a 1-inch brush. Maybe there's a big bush right here. Why not? Alright, we just put our shadows in. Kind of shadowy blue color. We put our dark undercoat. All we're going to do is tap with our liquid white. And we're just going to put some snow on these guys. Just a little bit of snow here and there. Here and there. Just maybe at the tops of these little bushes. Still got some snow hanging out. Remember, this is our winter scene. So we're going to have lots of snow. Not quite springtime yet. And all I'm using is liquid white and just nicely tapping by 1-inch brush just in places here and there. Don't overdo it. It's kind of the hardest part, is knowing when to stop, right? Knowing when to stop. Just happy little pushes here. A little more snow on this one here, maybe in the middle. Here we go. All right, we're going to take our knife and just plain old white, and we're going to grab some of that white, let it break, let that snow break. Just going to fill in the bottom here. Just going to fill in the bottom. And I think we'll take this end, maybe from up here. Just let that snow drag across there. Nice snowy front to our painting. This will provide a lot of texture to your painting as well, using the knife this way. So it'll, not only will it look like snow, it will feel like snow, which is really cool. Some more paint here. That looks nice. And on the bottom here, a little too blue on the bottom. But that blue in there will provide your shadows automatically. It'll just provide shadows automatically. And you can pile up some snow here if you want, wherever you want it. Good thing I bought more white paint, that's for sure. And you can go in, scratch away a little bit, finish these off, finish our trees off. All I'm doing is taking the knife, making a bit of scratch marks. Maybe there's some stuff, grasses that are still hanging out there, giving it a bit of an indication. Maybe there's a tree in the background there somewhere, smaller ones. And you could take your knife And this just adds to your paintings, because at the end of the day, they'll be able to see all those little scratches and marks, and they'll make them you'll make them think that you worked all day trying to put those in there with a brush, and all we're doing is scratching. Just here and there. See, I'm scraping some of the paint off, just randomly, wherever. Down here, there's some more. Bottom. We'll just cover that up. There we go. Last thing we need to do is sign it. I think we got to finish painting. Just take our liner brush. Maybe we'll go into that crimson color. Make sure you thin that paint down as much as you can, almost so that it's ink. And all I'm doing is taking a liner brush, rolling it in our paint so it's a nice point. I think I'll put my signature down here. And your signature can go wherever you want to put it. If you want to put it on this side, you can put it on whichever side you want. Well, there you go. This is a blue wintry picture for you. I hope you enjoyed watching it. I hope you give it a try using a very limited palette. Thanks again for watching. My name's Andy, the Painting Fireman. Make sure you keep your shiny side up. Have a good day, everyone.